fuck is up, gamers? Welcome to Henry Kissinger's Pokemon Going to Die, your number one leftism podcast made by, for, and of the terminally online, and also not a threat.
Just a fact.
It's just a fact.
Though I am starting to doubt that it might be a fact.
Listen.
Like, it's been a while.
We've been doing this podcast for nearly 3 goddamn years now.
TikTok, bitch.
And yet he has yet to die. TikTok is going to die in America before Henry Kissinger.
I'm Sara, and I'm your vice-ass president. Your VAP, get it? Like the song? Like how Maya Rudolph is going to say that in a month on SNL?
They're going to say it tomorrow at the DNC.
Oh, God.
And that's tomorrow, by the way. I was on the phone with my parents, and they were like, oh, are you going to watch the DNC? Bernie's speaking. Like, you like Bernie. And I was just kind of, don't think I will.
I am disillusioned with that. I have become disillusioned with that old man.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll probably put it on at work because there are TVs at my work, and I can, walk up to them every once in a while. But who knows? I'll be at work, working my job that I work in the pandemic, where people who want to go to the gym in a pandemic can go to the gym.
In a what?
Oh, a pandemic.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a whole disease ravaging the entire world.
Okay,
particularly North America.
Have you considered, no, there isn't. Hi, I'm Caroline, aka the 5G Rat Tower.
And I'm Matt, aka Genghis Callout.
So, I guess, I don't know, but I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I do want to, talk about it a little bit. Biden picking Harris is, I think the lead, there is no comedy to mine from that.
I've fully just become Doomer Wojak about this.
It's just the mass incarceration ticket.
Yeah.
I might literally pick up smoking.
I just can't stop thinking about that interview, about that time Kamala Harris was on the Stephen Colbert show, and she was like, it was a debate. I didn't mean anything that I said that was mean about Joe Biden and his extremely racist history.
Remember how we said that was the only good thing she did at that entire debate?
It has been really cool over the past week to see all the stuff from Kamala 1.0 as opposed to 2.0, where she was saying stuff like, I fully support Senator Sanders'
citizens.
Medicare for All bill. I believe the women who say that they were made uncomfortable by Vice President Biden's weird touching and hair sniffing, and I think we need to believe women, and also that that little girl was me. You can still buy that little girl was me shirts on Amazon, by the way.
Here's another encapsulation of how I feel. Just popping open a sweet beeb.
Grip it and rip it, baby. Kamala, that wasn't very money of you. Is that anything?
No. I think you can do better than that, Sara.
Yeah, I know that I can, and that's why I'm kind of disappointed in that output.
Yeah, you could do much better. We'll get there one day.
Yeah.
We have.
Remember when she talked about how much she loved smoking weed and listening to artists that had not put out albums yet in college while she was throwing people in jail for decades for weed.
Listen, I'm saying this next statement was a complete joke. I get it. Listen, back when I was until I watched the Firefest documentary, I would have bet $100 that the entire Fire Festival had happened when I was in college, which it absolutely did not.
Who among us has not lied about listening to De La Soul?
Or grossly exaggerated the amount of De La Soul that they listened to. Mm-hmm. I have technically listened to De La Soul with the amount of Tony. He was on a Tony Hawk, right? I can't remember which one.
I think so.
And also a couple of Gorillaz tracks. So I've listened to some De La Soul. But anyways, so congratulations to Kamala. On January 21st, 2021, she will be singing the Buddy Holly Joe Biden cover.
Yeah, absolutely.
On January 21st, 2021, we are all Pokemon going to fucking jail.
Yeah, I can't believe that they're gonna put Cops and Live PD back on the air on January 21st, 2021. Because they found a historic moment of people being sick of the shit being put upon us by cops and said, let's take the two largest cops in the Democratic field and put them on a ticket together. I think the worst part is that it seemed like Joe Biden was very much leaning towards Elizabeth Warren from like what people like insiders were saying, because there's always leaks on his campaign.
Oh yeah,
I don't think anyone wants to be there. No one wants to be there at all. They're just like, well, I guess this is what we're fucking doing now.
No, it said the leak that leak said that he was leaning towards Elizabeth Warren until the last week when they like
said something racist.
Yeah, he said. He had a typical like racist fuck up. I think it was where he said that the Latino community is very, very diverse, unlike the black community. And then they're like, "Oh fuck, I guess we gotta go Kamala." But then, like, I saw an article where insiders are reporting that Elizabeth Warren was saying she apparently played a lot of ball with the Biden team and the Democratic establishment and cozying up to that Veep slot, and that she said that she understood that a Biden administration would have different priorities.
Yeah.
With me, sisters.
Anyways, I can't wait for Billie Eilish to come out at the DNC convention tomorrow and say, when we all fall asleep, where do we go? To the polls.
It's literally so cool that Michael Bloomberg has like a longer speaking slot than AOC.
John Kasich has a longer speaking slot than AOC. AOC gets 60 seconds. That feels like an Onion headline.
Like, that's how long it takes to get on and off the stage.
God. Remember when Joe Biden... I feel like I've brought this up like a billion times on this podcast, but remember when Joe Biden was in 4th place?
Yeah, it was fun. We all... Remember that just brief period of time where it seemed like the primary might be good, and then simultaneous to this point in the primary downturn was like the exact point that COVID-19 like hit critical mass in the United States and Canada.
Yeah.
Like it was 2 weeks after Iowa that my work shut down for 4 months.
As usual, the rat
began to hit critical mass, really.
Yes, of course. It is going to hit worse.
We have been maintaining critical mass for the last, 5 months.
Yeah, it's just so... It's so fucking funny that everything shut down at, like, the drop of a hat, and people were really mad about how it all shut down. And now, when cases are far worse, they won't shut it down again.
Yeah, and grocery stores have long since stopped hazard pay because it's not dangerous anymore, even though it's, 3 times more dangerous.
Yeah, we love it. Some of the, most rich billionaires in Canada are people who own our nationwide grocery chains, and they cut their hazard pay, month and a half ago, at least.
Bread pricers.
Oh, yes, Loblaws, the bread pricers, of course.
Jeff Bezos has made, another $10 billion since the pandemic started?
Oh, if by 10 billion you mean 87 billion, then you'd be correct.
That's not real. That's not real.
That is what the number was.
That's not real money. You're lying to me. You're lying. That had to have said 8.7 billion, Matt.
It was an extremely large number. Don't look it up. Don't fact check me.
What if it was 69 billion?
That would not be nice. The one time
it wouldn't be nice.
I think it would actually be nice if it was 16. If it was 69 billion, we by law cannot get mad at him.
We would post Jeff Bezos had his wealth increased by $69 billion in our Discord server, and then automatically Brooksbot would respond to it with nice.
You fucking class traitor.
I can't believe this robot I made to replace Brooks in a hurricane is going to become even more relevant. As a larger hurricane currently bears down on Florida, because hurricane season is now all year long.
We love our climate, don't we, folks?
Yeah,
we do love our climate.
We're hitting fire season on the West Coast. There was a fire tornado in California last night. So, enjoy.
There's fires in the Arctic. So
there was one of if not the last of the polar ice caps, something shit. I can't remember the exact terminology of it, but something bad happened to it that was a staggering sign of climate change.
It was like a huge part of the specifically Canadian ice sheet that broke off and fell into the sea, and it was posted on Twitter by Catherine McKenna, like a former minister of the environment, and it was like, no more needs to be said about this, we need action. And it's like
Yeah.
she was literally part of the team that bought a pipeline.
No more needs to be said
Literally
about this.
part of the team that bought a pipeline and was the environment minister in a 4-year majority government. And, oh, no, we need action. I fucking
more
hate the
needs-
liberals
Speaking-
so
No more needs
much.
to be
I
said
hate
about
them
this.
so
Speaking
much.
of the guy in the hot dog costume saying we're all trying to find the guy who did this.
Hold on,
That
hold on.
that's
And like
Democrats.
politicians screaming, we have to do something. How's the mail going?
Well, the mail's going great. I just wanted to say real quick that I love politicians putting their foot down and saying, we have to do something about this. We will hold all of these CEOs to net zero carbon emissions by the time 2050 rolls around, and we're all fucking dead because our skin has melted off of our bones.
We will hold all owners of carbon-producing companies to zero emissions through a tax credit funded by people in disadvantaged communities punching cops in the
Yeah,
face.
who operated a business in a disadvantaged community for 2 years.
And received a
Maybe
Pell
Thanks,
Grant.
Kamala.
Pell Grant forgiveness.
But yeah, speaking of...
Like, that has got to be the most Democrat thing I've ever heard in my life.
Speaking
so
of...
good.
Speaking of Democrats saying, speaking of Democrats being the hot dog guy saying, we got to figure out who did this. The mail is going very well. Trump installed a crony of his, Louis DeJoy. Louis. He's not French. It's Louis DeJoy. He looks like a fucking like.
If he was French, it would be Louis DeJoy anyway.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that name seems really ripe for riffing.
He just kind of like has the. I've seen pictures of him.
okay, what if he
because-
was guys? What if he was Louis DeJoy?
Do I get that joke?
I don't either. No.
He's trying to teach you how to crank it. He's telling you to crank
Jerking off it.
Jerking off improv class.
it. Moving on. We all get one stinker.
I need someone. I need a place that would be really weird to jerk off, and I need a really weird lube substance. Did I hear strawberry jam and a strawberry jam factory? All right, here we go.
Here we go.
But yeah, the mail.
The mail. So everyone is the hot dog costume trying to figure out who did this. The mail is being turned into a fucking nightmare hellscape. I've got a friend who works at the USPS who gave me a lot of really relevant information about this. I'm not going to dox them or anything, but they apparently got a global email from the Postmaster General today, or the other day, rather. Sorry, I'm reading a thing from a couple of days ago, which has, never happened in this person's 3 years of working there. Granted, not a terribly long time, but this has been 2 months since Lewis took over, and this person has worked there for 3 years, so there were 2 years and 10 months for the previous Postmaster General to pull something like that.
Yeah.
And then Lewis did it again the next week. The first thing was the first email from the Postmaster General called himself the CEO, which
Great sign.
technically true, but also like not really. And it's a lot about just how he's not very corrupt and how the post office is extremely unprofitable. Hold on, let me pull up. There's a couple of I've got a couple of the letters right here. First, while I certainly have a good relationship with the President of the United States, the notion that I would ever make decisions concerning the Postal Service at the direction of the President or anyone else in the administration is wholly off base, said DeJoy. I serve at the pleasure of the governors of the Postal Service, a group that is bipartisan by statute and that will evaluate my performance in a nonpartisan fashion. The Postal Service has a proud tradition of being a nonpartisan organization, which I believe is one reason why the Postal Service is consistently rated by the public as the most trusted federal entity. I intend to uphold the trust that has been placed in me by the governors and to fulfill my responsibilities to this organization and the public interest by trying to make good decisions through the exercise of my best judgment and business acumen gained through 35 years of commercial experience and not based on any partisanship.
So that's bullshit.
Second, let me be clear that with regard to election mail, the Postal Service and I are fully committed to fulfilling our role in the electoral process. If public policymakers choose to utilize the mail as part of their election system, we will do everything we can to deliver election mail in a timely manner consistent with our operational standards. We do ask election officials and voters to be mindful of the time that it takes us to deliver ballots, whether it is blank ballot going to a voter or a completed ballot going back to election officials. We have delivery standards that have been in place for many years. These standards have not changed, and despite any any assertions to the contrary, we are not slowing down election mail or any other mail. Instead, we continue to employ a robust and proven process to ensure proper handling of all election mail. So, obviously, that is like just absolute fucking horse shit straight from the horse's mouth.
Meanwhile, all the conservative mouthpieces and assorted politicians are saying essentially that, where they're arguing that USPS is unprofitable and obviously has nothing to do with the election. But meanwhile, when you ask Trump to his face, hey, what's the deal with you fucking with the USPS? What's happening? And he just literally like, they worked on this story for a year, and he just
tweeted it
out. He's like, if they have the money for the sorting machines, then they'll be able to count all the ballots, and we don't want them to be able to count all the ballots. Like, that's just what he fucking said.
Yeah, you could just say it.
Just say it.
So there's been a lot of photos circulating of postal boxes being shipped off or locked up. But what you may not know is that the giant sorting machines, the DIOS machines, DIOSS, are being taken out of a shitload of post offices and are being quote unquote centralized.
Yeah, it was like 700 or something.
Yeah, this friend of mine is saying that in addition to like just being an absolute nightmare for their job, the DIOS machine is responsible for about 90% of the night crew's workload, so that's going to cause a lot of jobs to be lost. That machine also requires 3 people constantly monitoring, so they have automated the process of sorting the mail, but they need 3 people to constantly monitor it to just constantly maintain the thing. So that's just that's
it's like the fleet of these machines, like, taken as a sum total across the United States, we're sorting something like 21 million pieces of mail like a minute. Like, it's like an absolutely obscene amount of mail that's going through these things. So, like, one, they're huge, and second of all, like, obviously it takes 3 people when you consider the volume of packages going through it. You're considering, like, the irregular size of some of the packages, the fact that it's getting sorted by, like, postal region via their postmarks, and also...
You mentioned packages, by the way, Matt. You want to hear another fun thing?
Sure.
Hold on, I'm scrolling. I had a long conversation with this friend. I just got to find the actual talks. Okay, here we go. There is a price increase specifically for shipping of commercial services, like, online, like things like eBay and Amazon and stuff, just for the holiday season. So what's going to happen is that everything, the USPS is going to jack up their prices for anything, you're buying a gift for your, I don't like using Amazon, but, I've been using eBay a lot. You buy a gift for your grandma, you buy, like, a fun little knick-knack. What are those little fucking things called with the big heads and, like, the little blushy faces, and there's, like, a child standing in the garden holding, like, a watering can? You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. I can't remember what they're called. Hummel figurines.
Yeah. So you buy your grandma a little Hummel figurine, and it costs like $18 for shipping because the USPS has to jack up their prices just for the holiday season. It's from October to December 27th that they are bumping the hell out of these prices.
That period of time seems to overlap with something important.
No way. Really?
Did you know that the election is in November?
No.
That's somewhere between October and December. In fact, it's the only thing in between.
Well,
it's the only thing in there.
Christmas is also in there.
Well, I mean, between.
Oh, between. Yeah.
I guess Thanksgiving is also in there. But
but you're
like there's going to be a Thanksgiving this year.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, my family is probably going to have a Thanksgiving because just a little peek into the behind the curtain of my place. My parents are. I will say this, conceding that New York and specifically upstate New York has had better numbers in regards to COVID, but they are also just like, my grandmother turned 90 the other week. Like 3 weeks ago, my grandmother turned 90, and there was like a 25-person birthday party that my parents held in their backyard. Like, my grandmother literally was like, hey, no, I don't want this party. I'm really scared about COVID. And my mom was like, I can't not throw a party. You're turning 90, Mom. And she threw a party. But anyways.
Oh my God.
I'm really glad that even like among the people in my family who have voted conservative in the past and might not hold great political views vis-a-vis like taxes and or poor people are at the very least taking COVID seriously. Yep. Like that's been like a nice saving grace throughout the whole thing, is that like my mom has gotten mad that I haven't come up, but at the same time understands how ludicrously difficult it would be for me to do so. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my dad.
Especially like when test turnarounds are usually like a couple of days, and I'd have to I'd have nowhere to isolate. I don't live there.
Yep.
I'd rent a hotel for 2 nights.
Headline this evening that said 40% of America's COVID tests are coming back too late to make any epidemiological difference.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
Makes
that's
sense.
basically how it is for
I'll
me.
go get a test, and like in a month, I'll know that I had COVID 2 months ago.
Well, it's like for me, even if it takes 3 days, like I work 4 days a week right now. I'm at a gym for 8 hours. A gym, you know, that place where people breathe heavily.
A James.
And it's underground.
A James.
Yeah, a Gime. We're in also my gym happens to be in the lower floor of a mall. So part of the mall traffic goes directly by our entrance. So if I get a test, it has to be on a day where I don't work, and I have to get the results before I go to work again, because I will see an average of a couple hundred people every day.
Yep.
They have to wear masks. I have to wear masks. I have plexiglass, and I am scrubbing everything roughly every hour. But it's an airborne disease. It's just security theater at that point.
Yeah.
It's making sure nothing is transmitted through touch point, but that's 5% of transmission? It's got to be a super low number, right?
Yeah. My dad is taking a cross-country road trip this week. He is driving from New York to California to visit his parents.
Okay.
He's going to be sleeping in the bed of his truck with a tent, which is at least he's not going to sleep at a fucking motel, but I'm still just I don't get it. Anyways, more mail stuff. USPS has basically seized their entire COVID response. My friend has had a case confirmed in their office, and they were told to keep working.
Yeah, naturally.
They can't refuse customers who don't have masks on. Even despite local laws, this isn't a place where those laws aren't in effect. This is a place where the mask laws are in effect. They're not allowed to say, "Hey, no, you can't come in."
So are USPS offices technically federal buildings? Is that how that works?
I'm not entirely sure how that works.
They are absolutely Canada Post buildings are absolutely under the effect of whatever the local laws are.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a local law, but I don't know if because the management at this person's USPS office is all Trumpers, they can't make other employees wear masks.
Right.
And then, from what my friend understands, facilities basically work until a critical mass of employees call out sick, and then they have to just shut down entirely. Which is in addition to the intentional, the intentional monkey wrenches being thrown into the works of the mail. This is also causing huge mail delays in the sorting facilities down south. They're just getting blasted by COVID.
Well, yeah, there's also just been huge mail delays in general, more or less since DeJoy joined, right?
There's also been orders not to work overtime.
Yeah, overtime was cut, and they weren't to put anything into sorting machines overnight or something. There was something about the process of how they usually do their mail sorting, and it resulted in them being super behind in the morning when they actually had to go out and deliver. They weren't able to have anyone start before they had to send the trucks out. So basically they had to do a bunch of by hand sorting before putting it in the trucks. The trucks would get out hours later than they normally would and wouldn't have time to do their route.
Yep.
There's an internal memo that leaked, I saw the other day, that just says, where all these reductions are for the purpose of slowing things down, very explicitly.
Right.
It's not just a cost saving or fucking whatever, the consultant speak of Mayor Pete types. It's we're gonna slow this shit down.
Well, it's what I think is basically
it's the classic conservative move of proving that government services are terrible and don't work by intentionally destroying them. So that
it was a Reagan person, or I don't think it was Reagan himself, but it was at least a Reagan person that was government should be making the services small enough that they could be drowned in the bathtub, which is absolutely something a Reaganite would say.
Speaking of that, I've got another letter from the CEO, Postmaster General Louis DeJoy, who says in this press release, this was
real quick.
Yep.
Sorry, I just want to call attention to how the dreadful irony of what a good job name Postmaster is and the reality of what an awful thing
Like a
Mr.
postmaster
Lewis is
general?
doing.
That sounds fucking
Postmaster
sick.
General.
It really
sick.
it really vibes with me because I have this like episode of My Gym Partner's a Monkey that I saw a billion times as a kid stuck in my head.
Holy
where
shit!
there are-
Just the name of that TV show just was a brain blast.
where the episode is specifically about the characters competing to declare themselves the Prank Master General. And it just reminds me of the halcyon days of my childhood when I didn't know what politics was.
God, I wish that were me.
But anyways, here's another thing from the Postmaster General. Let me be clear, Obama voice, let me be clear about the reasons behind our restructuring and the need for our plan. Our financial condition is dire, ongoing declines in mail volume, a broken business model that Congress and the Postal Regulatory Commission have failed to act upon, and the crippling...
Also a lie.
The crippling economic impact of the coronavirus pandemic have all combined to bring us to where we stand today. Our critics are quick to point to our finances, yet they offer no solution. On the other hand, our restructuring and the plan we are developing provide a path to our transformation into a financially stable organization. I repeat again how excited I am to take on these challenges with your support to improve the Postal Service and better serve our nation. Together, our leadership team and I are taking aggressive and professional actions to ensure a successful future for the Postal Service. So, something that I'm sure most of you who are listening to this are aware of, but I would like to bring it up anyways. Back in, when was it, early 2000s, like 2003, 2004? 2006, thank you. There was a law passed that stated that the USPS had to fill their pension for employees 75 years in advance, which literally no other company, government or otherwise, is required to do in any way, shape, or form. This was them just like this was just them kneecapping the Postal Service way back then so that they could continue. This is not like a recent thing. The Republicans have wanted to the Republicans have wanted to privatize this for a long, long time, and this is the.
It's not even just Republicans either.
It's
like,
not, because
so many Democrats.
The thing is, the vote on that bill. We don't have a record of it because apparently this is something that I learned this week. Our senators have the ability to just say, "Hey, we don't want this vote on the record."
Wait.
Oh, you missed this, Caroline?
What the fuck?
They did it by voice vote. And there was like
haven't
literally a
seen
video
this.
of them announcing in the Senate that they were going to do a voice vote and people fucking cheering. And let me remind you some of the people who happen to be in the Senate at this time. Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, who's reportedly voted against it, but like it's again not on record.
Mike Pence wanted this
John
on record.
McCain, probably.
Oh, almost certainly. Mike Pence, funny enough, was he was against the voting by voice just because he wanted to be able to pin this on Democrats years later.
Which, yeah, there are so many Democrats that are, like, you know, speaking out against it now. Like, Democrats and also just, like, Democratic-adjacent media figures. And then, like, every time one of them does it, someone just does a "this you" retweet with, like, an article saying that they should privatize the Postal Service. Like, they got Matty Iglesias on that.
Yep, they got Pete Butterball.
Pete Butterball worked for fucking McKinsey when they were trying to privatize the Postal Service. What a fucking surprise!
The one that made me fucking the image of the guy like white hot with rage sitting at a diner table was the one from Gavin Newsom where he was like, the USPS should not be defunded. Pass it on, like a fucking it's like someone posting on Tumblr in 2015.
Let me tell you about a thing. It's called the Postal Service.
The state that has a bigger economy than like what most countries.
Yeah,
in the
for
world?
sure. No, the one that made me white hot with anger was the one where people are writing a bunch of articles about how there were appointees to the USPS that Obama was trying to push through that were blocked by Bernie Sanders. They say blocked by Bernie Sanders as if he has like unilateral power and was not just one of the votes against it. And then you look into any of these nominees. The articles didn't, but if you do, they were all fucking like deficit hawk Republicans who wanted to privatize the USPS. So like yet again, you know, Bernie was on the right side of history with that one, but they're still trying to make this a smear job against him, even though like he has no relevance anymore.
Yeah.
Like Bernie holds no sway in anything now. He's not going to get a Biden cabinet position. He's going to speak for like 30 seconds at the DNC.
One last thing.
God, thinking about the Biden cabinet is.
Oh yeah,
it's bleak. Bleak.
Are you excited for John Kasich to get a cabinet position?
No, they're going to give one to fucking Mitt Romney.
I just want to. This past week,
John
a few days
McCain's
ago, I
desiccated.
just want to call attention to a anniversary
Yes?
So on August 10th, 2019, our good friend Jeffrey Epstein unexpectedly passed away.
Yeah.
He sure
So
did.
that's just been a year of just everything being like this, and you could be sure to see a significant overlap with the flight logs and the DNC speaker list, including especially Bill Clinton, who has a major featured speaking, and even
For a second, Caroline.
even my super moderate Dem Biden loving dad was like, why the hell is the DNC having Bill Clinton speak? Why? He
was president.
More widely known for being friends with Jeffrey Epstein than being the president at this point.
For a second, Caroline, I really did think you were going to say, for someone who was frequently on the flight logs, Billie Eilish. And I was...
God.
I
mean,
was so
Courtney
concerned.
Love is on the flight logs.
Oh, boy.
Or no, not the flight logs. She's in the Black Book.
Ah, okay. Two more things about the mail, and then we can get off of it. The things I read from the Postmaster General were intended to be all hands meetings where everyone was told to, hey, put all your work done, come into this office, and we're going to redo this propaganda from the
Right.
Postmaster General. And two, here's just a fun paragraph that Scott Adams of Dilbert fame would have really taken aim at back in. This is just not. I don't want to not to give Scott Adams any credit, but I think he does have a way, making fun of the way of corporate speak, because corporate
bureaucratic
speak is
office
stupid.
culture.
Here's so this is a announcement that was sent out to everyone. There's a new organizational structure where everyone's going to be divided into 3 teams, which don't really matter. But here's the quote: This organizational change will capture operating efficiencies by providing clarity and economies of scale that will allow us to reduce our cost base and capture new revenue.
Holy shit!
Capture what fucking new revenue? You're the mail. Mail has the revenue.
One more again. I'm just going to get that one more again. The organizational change will capture operating efficiencies by providing clarity and economies of scale that will allow us to reduce our cost base and capture new revenue.
Where the fuck are you applying economies of scale to something like the mail, which is the textbook example of the perfect economy of scale by forcing a natural monopoly? It's literally already the example of an economy of scale, worked to perfection.
Oh, I know I said that was the last thing, but there was one more thing. Are either of you familiar with the Hatch Act?
No.
I've heard the name before. I don't remember what it is.
The Hatch Act is basically a law that was back in the 30s. That was I believe back in the 30s or 40s. That was basically said you're not allowed to discuss partisan politics with a government uniform on, excluding the president and vice president. What this originally was intended for was to be so that you don't walk into the post office and someone the person behind the desk is you should vote for Trump. That's what I'm going to do because I just
Right.
campaigning within the office. But now this has been extended to, you can't do politics with the uniform on. You can't talk about anything on camera as a USPS employee, really. Anything of significance as a USPS employee, which is bleak. But anyways, That's the mail. Thank you very much.
It's very surprising that there hasn't been larger labor actions from the U.S. Postal Union yet.
They're doing a lot of posting, and I hope that there's going to be a lot of labor actions from them. There have been calls, apparently, to subpoena Louis DeJoy in front of Congress or the Senate or something, but I'm not really sure how that works, considering they're on vacation until September now, but hey.
Oh, isn't that great that they're just we're just going to go on vacation. We could just choose not to do our jobs in a period of extreme problem. That's how I'm going to put it. It's a period of extreme problem.
Hey, and one last thing before Caroline talks about her thing. I've just been thinking, this isn't really about the mail super much, but this is just something I've been thinking about a lot lately. If by some miracle, I don't really know where the presidential election is going to fall, but, let's just say if the odds are in our favor and Joe Biden wins, and if by some miracle the Democrats keep the House and the Senate, all that's going to happen is we're immediately going to return to kowtowing to Republicans and not being able to push anything through. And then when the Republicans inevitably get control again, it's just going to turn into the way Obama shrugs at the 2009-2010 period, where he had complete control of the entire thing, and he was just but they would have said no. Remember last year when that fucking, I don't really remember what state it was, but there was a state senate but there was a supermajority of Democrats, and the Republicans the Republicans literally just walked out of session to throw a tantrum, and the Democrats were like, "Well, we have to reach out across the aisle and appease."
Was that not Oregon? I feel like that was Oregon. Didn't they literally go hide with a militia?
That sounds about right.
That was Oregon. That was Oregon. Oh God, we love our Oregon Democrats. They're very
useful.
They have vertebra.
Thank you very. I'm saluting
sure.
so hard to whatever the fuck the mayor of Portland's name is that I can't remember.
Ted fucking Wheeler.
Oh, okay. I'm not thinking of who's the Jenny. I'm sorry. I was thinking of Jenny Durkin.
She's Seattle, yeah.
Seattle, sorry. Jenny, more like Jenny Jerkin, saying, remember when she
Jenny
said...
jerking off.
Remember when she said, okay, we're not doing tear gas, and then the next day everyone got tear gas, and she was like, well, I meant specifically this brand of tear gas. We're no
famously.
We're no longer using Daddy Yankees. We're no longer using Yankee Candle's tear gas scented tear gas. Anyways, go on. Speaking of Oregon.
So Ted Wheeler, much like Jenny Jerkinoff, also said that he was looking into banning tear gas in certain circumstances, ? And of course never banned tear gas. And in fact, he himself got tear gassed by, I'm pretty sure, the feds, but like same difference, like pigs are pigs.
Still funny.
Yeah, it was very funny because there are a bunch of live streamers bullying him, God bless, at the time. And as he's getting tear gassed and like tears are streaming down his face and he's coughing, they're asking him like, hey Ted, you're the police commissioner. Are you going to have the police who work for you, the police commissioner, Ted, you're the boss of the police. Are you going to have them bear tear gas after like you just got fucking tear gas? And as he's still experiencing the effects of tear gas, he still won't commit. He's still like, we will. That's something we are going to look into very strongly, essentially.
Oh my God!
So that's
politicians.
Our champ Ted Wheeler. Yeah. So on a bit of a lighter note, beautiful day in Portland, Oregon today. This is an ongoing situation where Trump's new favorite constituency, being the beautiful boaters, the MAGA chuds who get on their beautiful boats and like have like Trump flags waving on the boats. And this is what Trump has been fixating on for like the past couple months because he can't really do rallies and he needs to see people liking him. So he loves to see the beautiful boaters with their beautiful Trump flags. So they organized one of those things in Portland today. And like within a couple, first of all, there's not that many of them in the first place. There's maybe
like 20
a couple
boats.
dozen.
Yeah.
Yeah, more than that. I was initially seeing people saying I've seen like 20 boats, but maybe like 40. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's still,
there's been
like,
larger gatherings of boats. There's been a larger gathering of boats on the lake my mom's house used to be on, just for like fireworks.
Yeah, like a
people would have larger just boat parties where like you just huck beers between boats. The storied tradition of anyone who lives on a rural lake, which is drinking.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that in this today's saga.
Of course.
So within a couple hours of the boat rally starting, somebody's live streaming what appears to be a multi-boat collision. And again, there's only like a few dozen of these, and the whole damn Willamette River, stretching several miles to the north and to the south, because there's a bunch of suburbs too, which is where most of these people, and up over 80% of Portland cops don't live in the city, they live in the suburbs.
Of course.
There's like 3 boats, and like the fire department's boat is like circling around taking statements. Somebody's mad because they hit their head after this beautiful boater collision. There's a bunch of oil floating on the surface of the water. There's like a cooler full of beers that has fallen in, and a couple of the beautiful boaters are trying to fish their beers back out of the Willamette. And there's another, and not too soon after that, there was another incident where all the boaters were speeding down and causing a lot of wake, and one of the smaller, beautiful boats sank.
You love it.
They sank one of their own guys. Like 4 people went in the water, and yeah. I mean, like, they're all fine, obviously. There's a bunch of people around to help them out, but, like, their boat is at the fucking bottom of the river now, dude. Because they went to a Trump boat rally, and they got owned by the other boats. It's gotta be
their boat wasn't large and beautiful enough. That's a Democrat boat.
So many big, beautiful boats.
Fucking cuck-ass boat.
So many big, beautiful boats just jockeying for position. It's like it's like Cake Song The Distance. They definitely
they're going
maneuver,
for speed.
They definitely maneuver and muscle for rank, but they don't definitely maneuver, and they just crash into each other.
So Portland's on what, like the 69th day of protest now?
Nice.
80. At least.
Damn.
I
can't believe we already went over the funny number.
Yeah, we've been over the funny number. There was a great funny anniversary. Yeah, it's a little varied on exactly which day it started, so counts are a little off, but
right.
I'm mostly seeing like 80, 81. Yeah, but the feds officially left, though I think they're still here. They're just not actively
kidnapping people and throwing them into vans?
Yeah, kidnapping people and throwing them into vans. The classic thing that happens in a normal democracy. So Portland has been out of the national news for a hot minute, but it's still fucking going off over here. You may have seen Ted. Fucking Ted. I hate Ted Wheeler so much. I hate that man.
So
you may have seen Ted Wheeler on the news posturing as like this resistance mayor, and about how like shocking the show of force towards protesters were, and how people were getting injured, and how it was obviously to reroute the focus to how he saw an opportunity to posture as a great like anti-Trump hero, and he took it. And all the news media ate it up, of course, and like the governor, Kate Brown, who is equally as much of a feckless, useless piece of shit as she let aforementioned the almost armed coup in the state legislature last year. She just sort of let that shit happen. So that's pretty much how all Democrats are. And but the second they got that press release out, we made an agreement with Trump and we're sending the feds home. The second the national news cameras left, it's back on to local police obscene brutality and suppression of
and disappearing people.
The First Amendment. And Ted Wheeler instantly going right, just like it was a fucking 180 to like decrying how authoritarian and dictatorial the presence of the federal police were, and then instantly, like I think within a couple nights, parroting the exact sort of hysterical they're trying to poison me at McDonald's because I had to pull over and wait for my food for 5 minutes. Cop,
of course,
speak. The specific incident was so there's multiple sites that people have been protesting at across the city. Pretty much like spanning the whole greater expanse. There's the Justice Center, which is the fucking jailhouse. So
great name.
Yeah, great name. Where, by the way, as police have been using people like, oh, you guys are like protesting and like throwing like fireworks and shit outside the Justice Center, but those are people in there. And like Ted Wheeler's saying you're like setting fires on like buildings that are housing people, housing prisoners that are being kept there against their will. And there's currently like a fucking hunger strike going on there because of the conditions where the prison guards are so, their feelings are so hurt at all of the news, the noise around defunding the police and such, that they're taking out their anger on the prisoners. And like the when there's protesting happening outside of the jailhouse, and the police tear gas the protesters, the tear gas regularly like fills the cells.
Oh,
like, there's
fun.
nowhere to fucking go. And so it just horrific conditions. And that's in the downtown part of Portland where the like tall buildings are. And then there's a couple police union buildings in the north, and where it's not entirely, but a lot of the more historically black neighborhoods in Portland are on the north side. And then there is a police precinct in East Portland, which is chronically like really underfunded. And the incident that Ted Wheeler was flipping out about was at a police precinct where they like lit a couple copies of a newspaper on fire underneath a piece of plywood in front of the police precinct. Like a very like non-consequential fire, and it intended like an intentional target because of the success that burning down the fucking police precinct had in Minneapolis. But the next day, Ted Wheeler and the police chief are screaming and hollering on the news about how last night there was like a small group of violent extremists entered city property with the intent to cause serious harm or even death. And Ted Wheeler says,
it was just them burning a couple things in a park.
A couple copies of a newspaper, like
Fuck's
in front
sakes.
of the building. And there's a, the police also put out this big video of them, the testimony of the cops who were on the scene at the fire outside the police precinct. And they're talking about like, oh, it was like a scene from a horror movie. Like they're choking up. They're near tears talking about this tiny little garbage can fire, how it's like the scariest like day of their, like it's just a whole bunch of hysterical nonsense. But the cherry on top is that Ted Wheeler markets this complete role reversal on his part as you have like, if you're going to these protests, understand that all you're doing is helping Donald Trump get reelected. All you're doing is providing B-roll for his campaign ads. So really ask yourself, do you want to be in Donald Trump's campaign ads?
They said that for the civil rights movement, didn't they?
Fucking probably, yeah.
I hate.
No, they said.
I hate these motherfuckers so goddamn much.
And what makes it so sweet and good and why we love Ted Wheeler so much is that Ted Wheeler himself, in saying that there was attempted murder, and that he says, I sincerely believe that city employees could have died last night. In doing, guess who fucking repeated word for word all that shit the next day? Donald Trump, you dumb bitch. You stupid bitch, Ted. He's talking about like his good friend Ted Wheeler and how oh, Ted was against me, but now they're saying now they really want the feds to come back because as soon as they leave, they're trying to murder the cops and burn the police precinct down. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the brutality exhibited by the local cops, for the past couple weeks, it has been Oregon State Troopers as well. But a couple nights ago, they essentially said, we're fucking off. We're tired of doing this shit. Because it's not really fun for the cops
it's when the high school bully is like, I'm tired of beating the shit out of you. It's not fun anymore.
Well, that, and also, we're getting Simone's in. They're getting minorly owned too, even though they're obviously the instigators of all the violence. Like, it's funny to see like a picture of a cop who had like a paint balloon thrown at him, and now there's paint all over his face shield so he can't see. Like, that's some good comedy.
It is pretty funny.
And the video that went around the other week of the shield wall, where the cops are just fucking bouncing off like a wall of wooden shields that people were holding at the front lines, and it's like, how are you getting this befuddled by a technique from fucking 500
Macedonia?
BCE? Yeah.
It's a fucking Macedonian shield. It's a partial Macedonian phalanx. Like,
Yeah.
come on.
It's just total baby brains, yeah.
It's so fucking funny.
Yeah, it continues to, they just continue to wantonly inflict brutality on the citizens of Portland, whether or not they're even, like, involved in the protests. Like, people have been tear gassed and, like, beaten and fucked with and, like, had shit thrown at them by the cops just for trying to get home, because the police are tear gassing residential neighborhoods too.
Right, there was
That's where a lot of these recent protests have been, is in residential neighborhoods.
Right. Sorry if you mentioned this already, but there was that Twitter post I saw like a week or two ago about that woman who was like, "Hey, I'm earnestly asking this question: Is tear gas like bad for my chickens?"
Yeah. Oh, she's such a good account. Yeah. Yeah. Like, I've walked through like that exact neighborhood before, and another thing is, in that exact neighborhood, it's underfunded and like lacks, like a lot of the east side lacks infrastructure like sidewalks. So like a lot of the streets, especially the ones that aren't main thoroughfares on the east side, have no sidewalks. So when police are screaming at you to get off the street and there's nothing but street.
Yeah, where the fuck do you want me to walk?
Yeah, so there's some pretty grisly videos out there of police like beating people with batons and shit, as they're wont to do. But yeah, it just fucking continues, because a lot of why Portland has sort of been red meat for the conservative like outrage culture. Like, there's this whole cottage industry of live streamers like Andy No, who
more like Andy Blow.
Yeah, who affects a British accent and has only recently started doing so, but is extremely not British at all, and like has been in the public eye using his normal voice too, so it's funny, this pivot to British voice. But yeah, it's because Portland exists as sort of like if a Ben Garrison comic about a college campus was a city.
Yeah, it's a liberal haven, right?
They need the idea of this city full of like pussy hat woke scolds, who are like far left, like hippie dippies, etc. Like, they need that to exist because they want to get mad at it. And so like Andy No has been very successful in routing all of these like fucking ancient, like bloodthirsty freaks who live in like the Villages, Florida, into following and like stalking and like doxing people here and like sending death threats to them on Twitter about shit they know nothing about because they don't live here. It's just because it's been packaged for their consumption. And it's like the Michael like the anti like id poll left like criticisms of the protests, like the Michael Tracy shit where it's like, oh, it's a Black Lives Matter protest, but all I see are white people. Okay, so first of all, not true. Like, even just like walking around Portland versus looking at videos of the protests, like they're obviously more diverse than like Portland as a whole. Two, yeah, there's going to be a lot of white people in those videos because Portland is like, I'm pretty sure like the whitest big city in America, and that's not a fucking accident.
Yeah, it was like a sundown town until what, like the 70s?
No, it's not just a sundown town, a sundown state. When Oregon was established during westward expansion, they had black exclusion laws. It was illegal for non-white people to live in the state. And when this law was established, there actually were like some like freedmen who had settled in the state at the time, and the law said, like, you have to vacate within X amount of time, or you get X amount of lashings. Like, you get whipped if you don't leave to people already there.
This is the liberal vanguard.
So it was a very intentional project of making Oregon into this white enclave from the very beginning, which, again, was not that long ago. This is like 1850. Or I think even later than 18. It was pre-Civil War, so 18, like around there. But yeah, and since then in the past 50 years, neo-Nazi skinhead movements in the United States, they have something called the Northwest Territory Initiative or something like that, where it is in a lot of the rural parts of states like Washington and Oregon and Idaho and Montana, there are intentional neo-Nazi enclaves because the idea is move enough white nationalists out here, and then we'll have sufficient numbers to establish this seceded white nationalist region or country or some shit. And so it's not just the normal makeup of conservative white people here. It's in the Pacific Northwest is extremely concentrated Nazis. Speaking of whom, a lot of the Portland clashes with the police in the past few years have been involving groups like the Proud Boys and etc. and even more explicit neo-Nazi groups coming here and starting rallies explicitly saying, yeah, we're trying to come here so we can start fights and then waste city resources. They're from out of state. They don't, a lot of them are from out of state. They don't live here. They're flying from across the country to start shit here because it's this cultural, again, these two cultural images of the Pacific Northwest. First is this white ethno enclave, and then second is the ultimate triggered lib capital. And Portland police are also, this may not surprise you, really fucking racist and awful.
Naturally.
I think there was a study of the past decade of police shootings in Portland. Half of them, the most recent 65 shootings, so I'm not sure how many years that goes back. Well, half of them were black people. And the racial demographics for Portland is 78% white, 7% black. Half of the people the police shot were black. And also, I think a similar percentage of the people the police shot were either mentally ill or homeless. Which is also a major thing that the police love to do here is just fucking, because it's offensive for the rich white liberals and I guess rich white conservatives, but there's fewer of them out here, to see homeless people in public, so they call the police to harass them and brutalize them until they don't have to look at them anymore. It's a really awful institution, and there's been a lot of local organizations, certainly at least since the first wave of Black Lives Matter protest in 2014, but also I'm presuming before that, because again, these issues have been existing here in extremely tense race relations. There was a really famous hate crime against an immigrant that was organized by an explicit Nazi group in I think either the 80s or late 70s. So this shit has been going on for forever, but there have been local groups in Portland that have been bringing this issue to the police before this most recent and most intense uprisings that we've seen across the country starting in May this year. Some good news is I think a couple days ago, one of the demands that people here have been working for several years was met, and that is to disarm the campus cops for Portland State University. It was finally announced a couple days ago that they would disarm the campus cops. This is after 2 years ago, the campus cops gunned down Jason Washington, a Navy vet and father of 3, and of course a black man, and shot him just an obscene, obvious amount of times. I think it was they shot at him 17 times, and instantly within arriving on the scene. So, I mean, it's a relatively small demand in the grand scheme of getting rid of the fucking police, but it is a concrete demand that people have been working really hard for and want to like at the forefront of what local organizers have been working for the past few years. So it was good to see that happen, even if it feels like,
a small step.
just gestures at everything.
Yeah. I mean, surely they're excited about the Democratic ticket then.
Oh yeah, we love our cops, our law enforcement.
I hope you know, Matt, that you saying that sentence out loud did like plant a face app smile directly on my face. Like it manifested.
That's such a good way of putting that emotion.
Yeah, we are all face app smile
Like
with this ticket.
I am constantly making Daniel Bryan fresh out of surgery face app emotion.
I'm making Aaron
country
Paul
is
going no in the movie Need for Speed, but face apt face at all times.
Yep. It's normal.
I guess we could cover a couple of things in short before we close up today, because we had two long topics. Now we can have some short ones.
Real quick shout out. Ben Shapiro thinks that having a wet pussy is a medical condition.
Ben fucking Shapiro, and he won't even say
The
pussy.
driest boy of all. P word.
Wet ass P
He
word.
called it a P
Shapiro
word.
thinks that having a wet P word is a medical condition.
Also very funny. I don't know if you caught it because he only does it once in the video, but he does say D word instead of dick at one point. Such a fucking weenie.
It's not even that he thinks. It's not even that he specifically thinks.
You would
that having
suppose
a wet ass P word is a
you
medical
would
condition.
suppose that if my wife had a dry ass P word, as you are saying, hypothetically, if you were saying that my wife, as you are saying, has a dry ass P word, that would mean that I am not good at sex. Now, obviously, this is untrue. I can get my wife on the phone right now, and she will say that I am very good at sex. I am a very, very good boy when it comes to sex. Now, how do you?
She gives me a ribbon every time.
She gives me a ribbon and a cookie and a single Oreo and 1/2 of a single Oreo cookie every single time that I bust after 3 seconds. And she says, "Good boy," and she loves it. And then she turns over and puts her hands down there, and I don't look because I am a good Christian boy, and I read I read my good housekeeping, and I go to bed.
I wonder what it's like being Ben Shapiro's wife. It can't be any good.
I mean, we've gotten a glimpse over the past couple weeks into what it's like to be Ben Shapiro's sister, and it's not great.
Yeah. Remember when she posted a picture that didn't crop out her feet?
Oh God.
People really went.
Something today.
She learned something that day. Well, that's enough about the Shapiros for now.
Yep.
Yep.
What else you got?
John Kasich says on CNN that there's a prominent congressman that is going to come out for Joe Biden tomorrow in reference to a question from Wolf Blitzer about working with Republicans.
Doug
So it's Mitt
Jones.
Romney,
Ben's
right?
ass.
Doug
Ben's
Jones.
It's Mitt Romney.
Ben's ass. Oh yeah, it's Mitt Romney, but
It's
I
absolutely
just like
Mitt
the
Romney, right?
opportunity to say Ben's ass.
Jeff Fuck.
Oh, Jeff Fuck. I hate Jeff Fuck.
I love that fucking they have like all the worst the Republican Democrats speaking at this thing too. Like I'm pretty sure Doug Jones is speaking.
Yep. They should get.
Oh God, Doug Jones.
They should.
We haven't thought about him since he won. Like we mentioned him on the podcast as the third best Doug Jones.
Remember that time that he narrowly won an election based solely on the fact that he was not a pedophile?
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, how's
if
that?
more elections turned out that way, we would be looking at a very different set of politicians.
You know what?
Yeah, now we're looking at that presidential ticket and taking a big sip of coffee. We'll
Yeah.
see how this one goes. Oh God, yeah, no, the DNC is going to be an absolute shit show. I'm so glad we're recording before it and thus don't have to talk about it.
Yeah, pretty good.
And then I guess the only other thing I really had was a brief piece of Canada. So Canada has largely been non-stop talking about the Wii charity scandal, and that's Wii as in WE, not as in the Nintendo console.
The Nintendo console
that came out in
that has Mario on
2006.
it.
The one with Mario on it, yeah. So this is like a big charity that was started in like the 80s or 90s by like some high school kids called Free the Children originally, and then they've just kind of rebranded themselves over the years from like their, just like the standard like youth group mission shit, which was their basis, into having like a suspicious amount of contact with the federal government. And it's the most boring fucking story in the world, but it's such an obvious ethics violation. And they were commissioned to run a summer jobs program through COVID, basically to help distribute like summer jobs to people, to kids, and it was like a $900 billion program, and it was $900 million, not 900 billion. That is absurd.
$900 billion.
It was a $900 million contract that was single sourced, so like there wasn't a bidding process for it at all, and nobody recused themselves from the vote, despite the fact that several members of both Justin Trudeau and Finance Minister Bill Morneau's family have like direct ties to the charity, either through like previous speaking engagements or like internships. And this is like a huge, it's just one of those things where it's just such an obvious conflict of interest that like you have to be absolutely stupid to not do it. And the Liberals do this constantly. Like their last government before Trudeau was taken down by something called the sponsorship scandal, which was related to election funding, but was also just like, you're in the middle of it's a football field, and there's a bucket of syrup dead center, and you have to try not to fall ass first into this bucket of syrup. And then they run to the center of the field and just do a full dive into that bucket. And they do it every fucking time because like the thing about Democrats, liberals, like centrists in general, like they live on graft. Their entire existence is corruption. They can't understand anything that is not appointing someone who's done you a favor. Like, this is the only way they work.
Their world is just giant burlap sacks with a dollar sign painted on.
Yeah, basically. And, like, look, Morneau is one of, like, the richest Canadians. He runs, like, a fucking hedge fund, and he's our Minister of Finance, just to tell you, like, how good that's going. And, like, unrelated, like, one of the main ministers and, like, one of the top posts in the Liberal Party is Bill Blair, who is the guy who ran Canada's G20 protests. The police response to the G20 protests, which was, like, mass-scale kettling and, like, a human rights violation, literally ruled in court, and he is in our government. So, like, this is the kind of shit you're dealing with. And this has caused liberals' brains to be completely fucking broken. Like, every liberal partisan on Twitter is going like, we should put the Conservative Party and the NDP's Jagmeet Singh in jail for losing jobs for our nation's youth during this pandemic. And like shit like that. And one of the personalities that has jumped on this is called Ed the Sock. Have either of you heard of Ed the Sock before?
No.
Okay. Have either of you heard of Nardwuar?
Yes.
Have I heard of Nardwuar?
Okay,
Nah.
So they both exist in the precise same era of Much Music. In, like, the time that they were doing the most, like, work for the channel was, like, roughly the late 90s, early 2000s is when they were both really popular on, like, this basically Canadian MTV knockoff. Ed the Sock's whole thing is he was a sock puppet with a cigar in his mouth.
So very Triumph the Insult comic dog.
Oh yeah, no, he literally got mad at Triumph the Insult comic dog for stealing his bit. Like, this was a whole thing in the late 90s.
That's very funny.
It is very funny. But nonetheless, he has recently gone in as just becoming a liberal partisan hack on Twitter. And, like, this is a sock with a cigar in his
like
mouth.
that one guy who, he's, like, up 24/7 and always fires up the first, like, Trump reply, and it's like, sir, this is a Wendy's.
Yeah,
Jeff
he's basically
Tiedrick?
a Krasenstein.
You mean Jeff
He's
Tiedrick?
basically a Krasenstein.
Jeff Tiedrick, the father of Awkward Zombie creator Katie Tiedrick?
Yes.
Oh my god, really?
Yeah, same guy. Literally the same
Oh, that's so fucking funny. Oh no. Oh no, I'm gonna be thinking about that all week.
Uh-huh.
So basically Ed the Sock has been going on these, like, unhinged Twitter rants, much like all these other people, like GT Lem, who's like a Toronto-based doctor who's a liberal partisan, who is in the replies of, like, every single article about, like, the pandemic response and the We Charity scandal, and just, like, calling for, like, the NDP to be arrested on, like, treason. And, like, for, like, the CBC to be arrested for reporting false reports on, like, their investigations, which are fine. Which are, like, perfectly fine. Like, not to say the CBC's any good. They've been just absolute dog shit for years. And we, in Canada, need, like, actual left media so badly it's, like, painful. lest I remind everyone, like I remind everyone every time I'm on this podcast, of like the Canadian newspapers federal election endorsements, and it's just a sea of blue across the whole thing every time, except for the Toronto Star, which was recently bought out by conservatives. So we'll see how that goes. And he had this whole thing last week where he's trying to get it trending to refer to Jagmeet Singh as Jughead.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Okay, so that's what that was.
That is why Jughead was trending in Canada, and he claims it is because Jughead is like a silly and stupid boy, and he is calling him silly and stupid, and it's not racist at all. And then you look into like Jagmeet Singh's memoir, and he literally refers multiple times to being called Jughead as a kid for wearing a turban.
Ugh.
And he is like absolutely going like hard line on how this isn't racist. And now there's people posting like, I stand with Ed the Sock, hashtag I stand with Don Cherry, hashtag I stand with the liberals. So like
Did
this is
Don Cherry die?
No, he did not die. He was just fired.
Oh.
Please listen to our episode, Famous Hockey Racist, for the explanation of that debacle.
What a good episode
but nonetheless,
title.
it's good. And now it's just like this. I just fucking love that the culture war in Canada has moved to the point where like all like the
Hashtag
there's so many.
I stand with Ed the Sock.
Yeah, like
When that's
hashtag
your
I stand with Ed the Sock.
culture war, the landscape is not good.
Yeah, it's fucking bleak. We have so many just like alt-centrists. Like that's all it is now. And like looking at the polling, I literally like the polling in Ontario has the Conservatives down like a good amount because their pandemic response has been like more or less dog shit, and they're trying to force everyone back to schools. Despite the fact that there is not adequate protection and our class sizes have been increasing steadily for years due to chronic underfunding. But the Liberals, who led like 13 years of graft in government, are like polling way up, and the NDP is at like nothing. And then federally, where like largely the Canadian federal government's response to COVID was like better than the US, not great, because like they're ending the wage subsidy that is basically keeping the entire economy afloat. Sorry, they're canceling the direct relief that has been keeping the economy afloat and turning it into a wage subsidy, which far less people are going to be eligible for.
We love our subsidies. We love our tax cuts.
Yeah.
We love the FBI.
Like
we love
the entire city of
FBI.
the entire city of Toronto is going to fucking collapse the second that CERB ends. Like, it is like a largely, like the large majority of people who work in Toronto work in, like the people who aren't working in finance are working some kind of service sector job. And like the fact that like people who work at restaurants, people who work at bars, people who work in like random storefronts, all these people are being forced to go back to work in their like tiny buildings with no ventilation, and it's going to be bad. I mean, it's already been bad. Like, the stage 3 reopening is finally, like, done in all of Ontario, and that's, like, stage 4 is the one that's right before fully reopened, basically. And stage 3, the cases have been going up like nuts, and they're just, like, blaming 20-somethings for going out and partying, and I'm not going to say, like, that's not happening, but it's largely just people who've had to go back to their jobs because the government will not support them if they are able to seek work. They're going to send the CRA after them. It's a really bleak situation. Like, the only good things that have come out of the Liberals' pandemic response, like things like the CERB in general, have been pushed by the NDP as like part of a coalition, because the Liberals are currently in a minority parliament. So like they don't hold a majority to vote, so they need to get support from at least one other party. And like ideologically, it just makes the most sense for the NDP to be that party. And it is in this arrangement of like a Liberal minority with NDP support that universal healthcare was passed in Canada. Like they don't give enough credit for that. Although I think it was still the CCF then, but nonetheless, it's like only good. These good things only happen when the NDP are there, but yet people will not vote for the NDP because that one promise that Justin Trudeau made to give us electoral reform and have like proportional based voting was removed when he realized it would get him less power, and it sucks ass. So that's Canada.
Yay, Canada! It's the home of really nice people, bacon, maple syrup. I'm doing this.
I had poutine for dinner, so that's something that's good.
Yeah, poutine is pretty good. Yeah. Do we want to do Lightbringers?
Oh,
We can do
real
some
quick,
Lightbringers.
I have a very quick shout out that I forgot to bring up when I was talking about Portland that I wanted to hit. So yesterday there was a far right like Back the Blue or fucking whatever downtown with all like the usual suspects of the like local far right freaks, but
Yeah.
one of them fired a gun, and he has been identified, and his name is Skylor Jernigan.
Skylar Jurgenet? His name is Skylar Jurgenet.
Skylor Jernigan, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I can't believe Sam
No
would
name
do
of the
this.
year.
Sorry. One more shout out. That thing that was popping up in the news late last week, I want to say, where was that one guy who was a former special ops or whatever the fuck guy who was just throwing pipe bombs into protester crowds?
Oh yeah, there was a ex-Navy SEAL who says on his LinkedIn he provided tactical training for law enforcement and civilian who threw pipe bombs at protesters.
You love it.
Like makeshift bombs filled with gunpowder, and 2 of them went off. And much like the Skylore shooting yesterday, the police refused to investigate it at all.
Oh, so the police didn't just get right on it to stop these people who are obviously causing danger to the community.
No,
What you're saying is that they are not interested in doing that.
I guess not.
Wow. Shocker.
It really makes you think, huh?
Lightbringers. I've got a twofer this week.
Alright, let's
my
hear
first
it.
Lightbringer is going to be I very legally obtained a copy of Super Mario Sunshine last week, and 4 days later I had gotten every non-blue coin shine in the game, and it was just a complete rush of dopamine to my brain that was very much needed. Super Mario Sunshine is extremely good. Fuck all the haters. I know there are too many haters of that game, and it's really good. It feels great. The music's great. I love everything about it. The final boss is weird because it's like the rocket nozzle has been like a novelty up until the very end, and you kind of have to learn how to use that at the very end. But very small digression. Great video game. My second Lightbringer this week has been the Get Stick Bugged lol meme, which has just been
Fuck, that was gonna be mine. We're sharing this
you've been
Lightbringer.
stick bugged lol, Matt.
God damn it, I can't believe I've been stick bugged on my own podcast.
Yeah, you got stick bug. It's like Rickrolling always made me smile a little bit, but this one just slaps a big old goofy grin on my face. The music is just so.
He's just wiggling.
He's wiggling. The extent to which he is wiggling is so incredible. He is going so hard, and I love that stick bug.
I love that the fucking music is from Roblox and it's literally called the Stick Bug song.
I think that's a thing that was
sure.
renamed to, how the fucking hit or miss, guess they never miss, song.
Yeah.
That was after it was uploaded, it was renamed a couple of months later to be called TikTok Anthem in the description. But
Okay, I thought it was like a game mode. That's what it looked like, but I also don't fully understand what Roblox is or how it works. I know that people have made fully functional clones of other games within the Roblox engine, because it's that kind of thing. So yeah, it could have easily just come later, but still, it's very good. It's just a little tune. It's a tune that expresses wiggling, and I really love to hear it. And given I've just been working every goddamn day. Well, I mean, I've been working 4 days a week, but that's more than enough.
That's basically every.
No one should have to work no one should even have to work 4 days a week.
No,
let's normalize the 3 day work week.
Adjusted for work years, that's every goddamn day.
Yeah, exactly. There hasn't really been much to look up to. I've been rewatching Little Witch Academia, and it's been fine, but largely the only thing that has brought me sheer joy has been the Stickbug meme. So thank you, Stickbug.
Thank you, Stickbug.
Also the Buddy Holly Weezer parody, which
Oh my god, I screamed.
I don't know if I could put it on this episode, but it's really good. It's on my Twitter.
It's not a threat.
It's not a threat, even though it is very much a threat.
It's not a threat, though. Ooh,
It's not a
you gonna nerf gun Joe Biden. Uh-oh, gonna hit him with a
Gonna
dart.
hit him with some foam.
I bought it at Walmart yesterday, and I found his next address of speaking to the public.
Yeah, it's at the DNC.
Yeah.
Watch it, everyone.
It'll probably be good.
Yeah, no, it'll probably be good. I hope you guys all enjoyed that. And when we do our next episode, roughly 2.5 weeks from now, we will not be talking about it at all.
God bless.
Yeah, my
Just don't worry about it.
is quarantine hobby of birds.
Birds?
Birds.
fuck yes.
If you get into birds, look, birds is Pokemon. That's
No,
what
you're
it
right.
is. It's you
It
have
is.
to see. You have to see all of them. You gotta go get them.
And I have seen some very handsome young men. I saw a cuckoo, which I didn't know what a cuckoo even looked like until I ID'd it. And it was like, oh, so that's what that kind of bird is. Cool. And I saw a gang of crow teens bully the shit out of a hawk, which
Fuck
is
yes.
something that I knew happened, but I'd never seen it in real life, and it was really funny. You just got fucking owned. It's good. It's good to see little friends just having a nice time who have no idea there's a global pandemic, and they're all very polite.
Birds don't
And
know
you can
anything,
see them.
and that's so beautiful.
Birds are a lot like Looker in that way.
Birds don't hit.
Looker
Birds
doesn't
don't.
know.
On average, though, birds do not have the dump truck ass that Looker does.
No one has Looker's dump truck ass.
All right.
You really just can't. You can't beat or meet that.
Yeah. You ready to take the shit to the close?
Let's take this shit to the close.
All right. This has been Henry Kissinger's Pokemon Going to Die. Not a threat, just a fact. If you want to find us, we are at HKIPGTD everywhere. That is Twitter. That is Tumblr. That is Gmail. That is Reddit. Thank you, Reddit user Bisexual Punch Party, for running that entire show. Just continually uploading the episodes like 10 minutes after they get pushed to podcast. Whoever you are a hero. And Patreon, if you want to support the podcast. $1 a month gets you access to all the bonus content we've done over the 2.5, almost 3 years that we've been doing this podcast. That's super fucked up. $5 a month gets you your name under the podcast and a special user status in the Discord. Join the Discord. $10 a month gets you all that stuff. Plus, you get to listen live to our episodes when we record them. If we don't like send out the last minute notice at 8 p.m. on a Sunday.
Sorry.
So, thank you very much to Scout Shiro, Cass, Shindiglet, Antigone Progony, Tuffster McGee, Indian Snufkin, Your Sapphic Minecraft Beewife, Patrick Van Brunt, Alex H., Wynn, Jacob Sears, Bryce, Stefan Death in the Grips, Neve Noel Williams, Maximilian Rower, Boigameister, Bryant, Nick Clarkson, Jane Wick, Destryhawk, Pierre the Disaster, Alex Hoot, Summer Geist, Dijonais, Pregnant Seinfeld, David Besser, Paul Blart Fleshcart, The Tallest Jew, Stephanie Ruff, and Alex Schaup.
Hell yeah. I like that there's a page that actually displays the patrons without any of them being cut off.
It's nice, isn't it?
I do like it. Patreon finally did something good on their website.
Thank you very much to the Taxpayers for the use of their song Evil Men off of the album Cold Hearted Town. It is a banger. Thank you very much to Matt GameCube
Hey, that's me.
for hosting the Noisepace.xyz network, where this podcast and so many other fabulous ones are hosted. Go listen to Zero to Zero. It's one of my new favorite podcasts. It's friends of the show, Sam, host of the show, Val, and friend of the show, Giga, talking about the short-lived reality show Who Wants to Be a Superhero.
Giga wrote my nickname this week.
Yeah, shouts out to Giga.
That's where I stole it from.
You can find me on some other of the Noisepace.xyz shows, such as Fear Baiting, my horror movie podcast. Schlocktober is coming up right around the corner-ish.
Woo woo!
About 6 weeks. And also the Wonder Years, which is the Animorphs podcast I do with my friends Blair and Seda. You can find me on Twitter at SunhatZhenya. That's SunhatZhenya, and I believe that's everything.
I'm Caroline. I'm at C Savage with 2 V's on Twitter, and in the episode description, if you're interested in following what's going on with the Portland protest, I've compiled a list of local organizers and activists, people who are on the ground pretty much every night. To follow.
Hell yeah. I'm Matt. You can find me on Twitter at MattGCN. I have other podcasts, but I talk about them enough. We don't need to get into it. Let's just bring this to the close, baby.
All right.
You know what we say, right?
Memento Pokemori.
Memento Pokemori.
Memento Pokemori, folks.
God, I can't-
And Joe Biden, I'm gonna...
I can't wait to see. I cannot wait for Nancy Pelosi to walk out on stage tomorrow to Billie Eilish. You should see me in a crown.
You know what song she's gonna walk out to, and it's not Billie Eilish.
What song?
There's some whores in this house.
Wet ass Pelosi.
Oh.
Do not say to me the words "wet ass Pelosi."
This
Wet ass Pelosi.
This podcast is over. Bye.
Bye.
Whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. I said certified freak. 7 days a week. Wet ass P word. Make that pull-out game weak. Yeah, you effin' with some wet ass P word. P word is female genitalia. For this wet ass P word. Give me everything you got for this wet ass P word. Beat it up, N word. Catch a charge. Extra large and extra hard. Put this P word right in your face. Swipe your nose like a credit card. Hop on top, I want to ride. I do a Kegel while it's inside. Spit in my mouth, look in my eyes. This P word is wet, come take a dive. It continues along these lines. And it gets significantly more vulgar. Like, a lot more.